obviously tankless water heaters, right? So you guys know how to work these. You guys have seen them before, right? So this is a Girard. This is all the components to it. So when you're running these, the biggest fallacy with customers is when you operate, there's a couple of YouTube videos on it that you could watch, and I watched one the other day just to kind of understand it a little bit. The flow of that water is going to determine how hot it is. So you can take the internal temperature, run it up to 144 degrees or whatever that is, and when you open up the valve, you just open the hot water valve. The more open it is, the more open that valve is, the faster that water runs through there, the lower the temperature. You throttle that back in the valve and it's going to make it hotter, but it's continuous supply of hotter. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now you can mix hot and cold, but there's a way to regulate not only inside with the push button where you regulate it, but there's also a heat regulator inside of here, and I don't know where it is because I haven't opened it up yet, but you can adjust the temperature on the hot water heater itself, and I think it's on the other side of it. But essentially, the benefit to the customers, those that want to take a little bit longer showers, now they can do that with this. We're on a 6-gallon or gas or gas electric. Your shower time is just on, off, and then soap up and then turn it back on, and so on and so forth. This will give you an endless supply. So on the manufacturing aspect of it, it allows us to do different things with different floor plans because we were only limited to where we could put hot water heaters before because of venting and things like that. So I like the manufacturing aspect of it. I haven't used these enough to understand what to troubleshoot them, but I just know just from watching videos on how people have done it by adjusting temperatures and flow of water and that kind of stuff. So, and they are Girard, which is all of Keystone's going to be using it across the board, even down to your little guys. So when you're selling the sports and you sell against everybody else, not too many people are going to have tankless water heaters in the little guys. So, and you guys do quite a bit a year of those, so that's huge. So that is one of the kind of cool new additions. I'm trying to think what else. Black tank flush, obviously. So all of your LHSs that used to be LHSs, everything will come in with a black tank flush, heating closed underbelly. That was the other thing. Can't reach up there. I don't want to bend out. But that moving forward, that's a new addition. Obviously, we love this. How many times, I think you've told me a few times, hey, does this have an underbelly on it? Nope, LHSs don't. And then we finally went to it and just the slide unit. So it's a kind of a nice little addition to smooth out the line. Now, another new aspect is notice the front ends. Instead of the corrugated sides, now we went to the smooth metal front. Now obviously it's a thicker gauge. Typically your sides are going to be an 024. This is an 040, so it's actually as thicker, if not thicker, than your diamond plate. So it's going to help protect those front ends. It gives it a sleeker look, easier to clean than the typical corrugated stuff. So that's always huge. And you saw the lock and stuff on the battery rack up front. Okay. So that's new addition and everything. We went back to marker lights on everything. So now even down to your little guys, you're going to have side and rear camera prep, where before we took it off, now it's back on. And then your pass-through storages we talked about before. There's your griddle that will go to the outside. And then if you notice, there's your TPS monitor system there where they can buy the parts to you guys, tie into that, and monitor the pressure of the tires and the heat. That's when they're traveling with it. And it's all via app. And then it's all finished, where before we had exposed wood, and it'll have 2 lights. It just looks cleaner. And then I like this, wherever we can put in the 3-cube or refrigerators, the floor plans that allow us to do it, we're going to do that and more. So what I like about this model, the 25 RDS, people bought the 28 RKS because it's one of the few out there that had an outside kitchen. It allows us to do outside kitchens on couples, coaches, bunk models, on just about every model, so you're not losing a deal against somebody that has it, right? So that's kind of a cool one. It's a bigger refrigerator, is 12 volts, so it will be solar run just like the internal one. But this is huge, especially for couples buyers. And then, what's that? That's 12 volt? Yeah. So 110, 12 volt. If that outlet's inverted. You see what I mean? The regular 12-volt refrigerators are wired in to the wiring. If this is plugged in, the outlet has to be inverted in order to be 12-volt.
So right now, it's a 110.
It's a 110 right now until you add the inverter, then you can change it to 12-volt. Or to run off of solar, essentially. And batteries. And then, for a couples coach, I really like this your typical 25, 26 foot couples coach will have what? 2 chairs in the back, a sofa. What I like about this is it lets you accommodate more family if you wanted to bring them along. So if they upgrade it to a trifold, you could get 2 people there. You could get 1 to 2 tall people with this because this is 96 wide. So now it's going to give you a bigger U booth to sit at. Not only that, but sleep taller people. But it's going to allow a couple that has more than just a couple people or a few people that want to come visit with them. So I really like this layout for entertaining, and even if they just like the floor plan, so the kids can sleep anywhere. That's another aspect of it. But for what it does for those couples buyers over and above the 2 chairs in the back, a lot of countertop space, the TV across from the sofa. They added overhead storage across the back on this model. There we talked about the storage doors underneath the dinettes on everything now, which it took 15 years for them to do that. I'm happy they did, but it's awesome. This, on a few floor plans, keep in mind, depending on the storage, but if you looked on there, we had to put the inverter on that side on this one. It made me think of it because of the 2 doors. It's kind of a illusion there. Solid one-piece countertop all the way through. New addition, and then huge is having the carpet out of the slide. It just cleans them up. But that is probably the newest stuff. Bathrooms, medicine cabinets. If you notice, they went to solid medicine cabinets. Remember, we used to have the plastic ones that just hung from the wall. They look cheap, and so now they're going to be all prefab medicine cabinets. Here is the cutting or the dry basin and cutting board versus that one piece that ran through there that was stored underneath the bed. That's a nice little feature for a lot of people. Now, I've never thought how huge cutting boards were for sinks, but customers always ask for that stuff. And then the refrigerator that we used last year was the Norcold. We switched to the Furrion Arctic. The Norcold ran for up to 48 hours, I believe it was, off of 12 volt. Off the solar. This will run up to 96 on the Furrion fridges. So that is a new upgrade as far as working with solar stuff, I guess, if you will.
Isn't the GE new too? The AC?
This AC unit, the GE, it depends on what we get. We probably jump back and forth. Yeah, we jump back and forth between the Coleman. This was the first time I've seen a GE unit, so we must have got a supply of them in. Now, the service techs brought up a good point with ACs. With the industry going more and more solar, because did you know that I told you J-Flight went to the solar panels, the solar solutions with the big panels on the roof? So they're going to go solar at some point. At some point they'll get a lithium battery on the front, I imagine, as well. But the key here, it's going to push manufacturers of ACs to put soft starts in them, because right now it's a conversion kit that you have to do for solar in order to run them off of solar. What happens is if you run complete compressor off of solar, it's too much draw right out of the gate to run that compressor, and what this does is just levels it out a little bit so you can actually kick that compressor on when it needs to. So that's all a soft start is. So if a customer comes in and says, hey, can I run my AC off the solar? Not that solar. It will take a lot of energy and a lot of battery power to do that. And what I mean, from a 400 series and up, at that point you can adapt it to run ACs. You know, the little blue control charger that's on the inside? Yes, that's the brain for that's basically the brain for all the energy coming in and out of the coach. Victron Connect does an app on your phone. So if you had at least a 600 series or a 400 where you had a Wi-Fi, and you can see on the matrix the Wi-Fi basin of it, you can actually be at a craps table in Vegas, and then your camper up in Michigan, you can adjust the controls and see how much energy is going in and out of that coach and adjust where you need to just via the app. It's kind of like a for your like GM and Ford does the apps for your cars that you can start them up. This basically is kind of the same thing. It just lets you do the onboard energy. But essentially, that's what it opened up. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna let it update, and then I'll show you kind of with battery. So the key here is that when you go into open the app, there's going to be a settings aspect. You have to change the battery to it. So it's already set up for a lot of times for lead acid. You need to change it to lithium, and it'll tell you the internal stuff. But it does some cool stuff. And what I mean by that, it gives you trends. It gives you the history, like if there's a certain time of day where you're getting more energy from solar into the battery bank and all that good stuff. It tells you that on this app, which is awesome. So every customer that buys one will have the access to download the Victron app and wirelessly hook their stuff in by app and see how much power they have going into it. If a customer comes in and they know solar, they know Victron. Victron is the name of names. It's the Bose of solar, or the Apple of solar, or whatever the case may be, Xerox of solar. But anyway, it actually originated not only in residential setting, but also very big for yachts. They use it for onboard energy systems for big yachts and boats and things like that. And Victron is the way. We have an exclusive through Keystone to run Victron stuff. So we're the only manufacturer out there that uses it. If someone has been on a yacht or a boat and they have gone to this type of energy, then they know Victron, essentially. So it's been around for a long time, and they are the main the ones to talk about for son of a gun. I hate this because it makes me update it all the time, but I'll go to the demo library and just kind of pull it up. So this gives you all kinds of stuff where it's going to tell you the bulk rate and all kinds of situations for your battery. If you go to the 30 amp, let's go to a 15 amp bulk rate. So it's going to, here we go. So then it will also graph your discharge and charge of the battery itself. But when you just go back to the solar aspect of it, it will go to the battery monitoring system. We want to go to the solar chargers and then go to a 15 amp. And once you get into this is going to tell you how much energy is coming in. And it will also go down and just give you ratings, like it'll give you a history of the mechanics of it, on when you're getting the most sun, less sun, so on and so forth. And also give you trends. So when this starts running, it'll have a graph on there of trends on when you had your energy input from the battery to the temperature of the battery, all that good stuff. So it lets you monitor all that stuff just via the app itself. So it's kind of a neat little setup when you're coupling this with solar and the battery and the Dragonfly stuff. One other thing I do want to show you is, you can't miss them, but every coach will have this heat switch, right? When that's on, it's heating the battery. So if it's cold outside and you want to charge the batteries, let's say you didn't have any power and they want to charge it, they need to bring it inside for a few hours, let it get up to temperature, and then heat it up. You can heat it up via itself, which is 12 volt, or you can heat it up by plugging into shore station, essentially. So just plug it in and let it heat, and then turn that switch on, let it heat up. And I believe it takes up to 4 hours to charge a battery with the lithium after it's heated to its temperature. And I believe that temperature is below 26 degrees is the average.